Ja, hallo in der Motorenhalle, aus der Motorenhalle.
Hi from Motorenhalle. Ja, willkommen bei unserer zweiten Videoaufnahme zur Ausstellung disCONNECTED, die wir heute Abend produzieren und live streamen. Welcome to the second video about our exhibition disCONNECTED at Motorenhalle in Dresden, which will be done directly tonight, live stream. Nach unserer letzten Aufnahme haben wir beschlossen, das Ganze nicht mehr zweisprachig zu machen, weil das doch ein bisschen zu kompliziert und auch zu unkonzentriert wird. Deswegen wird diese Aufnahme schwerpunktmäßig oder ab jetzt gleich auf Englisch stattfinden. So, as we did it our video last time bilingual, and as it became quite complicated to do that, and I think it was also quite difficult to understand for the viewers, we decided to do it only in English tonight. So for everyone who would love to see us in German, please forgive us for this decision, but it makes it really easier. Also wir bitten um Nachsicht an alle deutschen Zuhörer, aber das Ganze macht es deutlich einfacher. Okay, so just some few words about what we are doing here. We developed an exhibition called disCONNECTED for the exhibition space Motorenhalle in Dresden, which could not be opened unfortunately in the end of April of this year. So we decided to make a series of short videos or also longer videos to give information to the public about our project and to introduce our artists. And today we come to the first artists, but let me just give you a short introduction into the topic of disCONNECTED. disCONNECTED deals with the questions about how far images can cross cultural borders and how far transcultural transfer of visual cultures is possible and is understandable, and if images are still readable if you see them from another cultural perspective or not. What are the traps, what are the possibilities, and maybe what brings us all together when we view images that can transgress the limitations of monocultural focus. So, yeah, that's it roughly. And now we will start with something which didn't work last time.
Yes, the disconnection is maybe now a very big topic for a lot of persons in the whole world. So we hope with this little series we can make kind of connections. Well, last time we were disconnected with Lisa who make a digital Motorenhalle, which we want to fulfill with art, with some additional stuff, not what we will show real here in the Motorenhalle, some additional stuff step by step. During the time the artist can't be here, the artworks can't be here, so we are working in progress with this, and now we have Lisa here, which and she will give us a little guided tour to our digital Motorenhalle. So Lisa, now it's you, please show us the Motorenhalle.
Hello and welcome to the digital space of Motorenhalle Dresden. I made this space because of the reason that we sadly can't make our exhibition opening today, and so I decided to make a digital space to make people curious for this really exciting exhibition. When you enter the space, you will recognize that the space is all clean and all white. There are only white objects standing around, and when you click on these white objects, you will find information about the artists who participate in this project and about the background, why these artists are participating into this exhibition subject. Yeah, you can walk through this room, and there's a reason that the room is white, because we want to upload video messages from the artists and pictures and informations about the artist and the subject of the exhibition here in this white space. And so it will fill up with colors soon. So yeah, take a look like every day. So every day something will happen in this room, or could happen in this room, and you will find out. I hope you will have fun and that you like this digital exhibition space. We decided not to show the artworks of the artists in digital ways because yeah, there's a real life exhibition space, there's a real life exhibition opening, and a digital space will never come close to the whole feeling of going into an exhibition and seeing real life art. So yeah, that's only like a taste, and we want to bring you some information about what we were working on for more than 1 year. Yeah, thank you to everyone who participates, and stay healthy.
So thank you very much, Lisa Marie Bayer, one of our artists from Dresden, who brought to this digital project, which comes before the real exhibition, a really interesting meta level just to connect us in another way. And now we will come to one of the focuses of the exhibition. The exhibition is grouped in several, let's call it chapters, and we brought together some artists for every chapter to bring them into artistic dialogue. Of course, it's not easy to reduce those artistic positions only to the focus we have on them. So, of course, the whole exhibition is much more complex than we offer it right now, but of course it's interesting just to follow different approaches to the topic, and that's why we also group our videos into topics. And the first one today is reenactment.
But till you as a curator, I think it's totally okay to make an exhibition with different chapters, I would say, or just to focusing a little bit on different issues. So reenactment is today our main topic. Reenactment, why is it for you something special? What's interesting for you in reenactment?
Yeah, well, I don't want to explain too much about the term of reenactment right now, because this will be your job to do after 2 or 3 minutes. But well, reenactment, bringing something to visibility again, or bringing something to life again, is important for me and has been important for me because I have been working with cultural and historical issues, and I always try to understand them in a different way from a pure historical approach, so that these thoughts, these events, these images can become relevant for our today's society again. And when you work with that, and I also work with other artisans and ask them to reinterpret images, which is also sort of a reenactment of the artistic process, which brings out the image in the end, then of course you get in touch with this topic of reenactment.
Mhm. Well, I would like to give a really short introduction about the ideas which are behind the artistic strategy reenactment, so I would name it. But like Till said, it comes at least from an historic science and is starting in the beginning of the 20th century that historian scientists use this method to understand a little bit more how events was, how history was to get more knowledge and ask about how it has or how it could happen in the past. So, but I would say there's a difference to the strategies, like to the artistic strategy of reenactment, which is a method or a strategy which is quite new since the millennium artists work in this. And I think there are a lot of very interesting reenactments you can find. We will have 2 in the exhibition. And next to the scientific perspective, we also have hobbyists which do reenactments. Like most of the time, they are battles. Very close to Dresden is the reenactment of the Völkerschlacht by Leipzig. But in other countries, also hobbyists do reenactments of battles. And what maybe it's a little bit comparable. The hobbyist wants to be so close as they can to the original event, and even scientists want to find out how was it in real or how was it truly. So, and I guess this is maybe the main difference for artists, because they don't want to find how was the story real, how was it exactly, because they more focusing on there's not only one story, there's not only one history at all, and so they don't focus so much to make it as similar as possible, I would say. So, and what they are more taking attention, I would say, is that they make conscious that authorities and medial system make an influence on the things, how we remember them, how we remember historic events, and how we have a representation of history in our societies. And what they also make conscious, I would say, is how the remembering of stories of history can be manipulated, I would say. Let's give me a very short reenactment example, which will 1, 2, 3, which will not part of the exhibition. It was made by Massimo Forlan 2018 at the Public Art in Munich, and he reenacted the only match between East and West Germany soccer teams. And he made it 2018 in the Olympic Stadium, and he focused only on 2 persons, which are in the soccer, the goalkeeper, Sepp Maier, and the goal scorer, Jürgen Sparwasser. They act at the stadium, and the audience can sit on the tribune, and they had little technical devices where they can listen to the original commentators of East and West German broadcasting station. And what you can see on this example, the 2 realities existing. So, and this is how even stories are telling also nowadays, how history can tell in different layers. So, and you see, medial structures are important in this reenactment, and all of that influence our cultural heritage and how we remember things, I would say. And so it's also make visible how we as a society, how individuals deal with our history. And what reenactments also make possible, they can focusing on very individual positions. It's not the main story which is told, also people which are part of events or stories, we can really focusing on this very personal view of these stories. And altogether, this is at least our knowledge we have about history, and this and this is at least a possibility of being disconnected or connected, and this is at least mediated by our languages, the images we know, and also the social conditions we have. So, and for me, reenactment is a very interesting artistic strategy, how we can together reflect it, together when we take part as an innen reenactment, or when we have a look as an audience to the results of a reenactment. Well, so I think if you don't want to add something, maybe?
Yeah, well, maybe just add in reference to the exhibition, as you can see, this more or less scientific term of reenactment must be opened to fit into something like an exhibition which deals with artistic accesses to images and to collective memory. This means the works that we show do not claim to be scientific experiments. They always open the doors to very unique ways of expression, very unique ways of insight, and very personal approaches to this question of reenactment. If you want to see something which is more or less strictly historic, then it's of course another thing to go to a reenactment of a battle and to get the feeling about that. And you can still question how far this is more or less near to the original. But we invited two artistic positions to be in the exhibition, and interestingly, both of them are not fine artists in their regular work, but they come from theater and from performance and from artistic research.
Yes, and I think both show different layers about stories, so and it makes it really visible. But now I think we try to have the first call to Davide Giovanzana until you have the questions for him. So let's try to get the call now.
Exactly. So, welcome Davide Giovanzana from Helsinki.
Hi.
It's great to have you here, at least digitally. You are a theater director teaching at Helsinki University of Arts. And we will have you in the exhibition with some photographs referring to a project which you did with students. And maybe you could outline that in a few sentences for us?
Yes, exactly. So exhibition are images from the process I made with the students of the Theatre Academy. And this research that I've done is part of a postdoc, which is called The Imagination of Violence, aimed to examine to what extent images of violence that we can see in the media, let's say from internet, affect our imaginary, and what kind of space theater can respond to these images. So that was the initial starting point of the research. It was a practice-based research.
Okay, so who was the one to select the images on which you were working with the students?
So I worked with a photographer, Keme Pellicer, and the idea was to select some images and then with the student to make, in the first step, a kind of aesthetical process where they would reenact these images and we would take a picture of them and it should look as if it's the same. The whole process was initiated by Susan Sontag's text about the suffering of others and how the image is constructed. So that was the starting point. So I said to her, we should take images that we can reproduce and the viewer cannot see the difference. So in the first place, Keme took pictures, selected pictures that she knew that she could work on, reproduce, do some Photoshop that it looked like the same. So she made a selection of 10 images. Then the students were left with these images and they picked up 4 of them. The ones that kind of touched them, let's say, strongly. It was not questioned what was the criteria. It's just happened, let's say, organically.
And did you investigate about the background of the images that were selected, or did you start with the image as image itself, so to say?
Yes. Let's say that we started as image themselves. Of course, we did some little research to understand why that happened. Let's say why the action that we see happened, but we didn't do a very thorough investigation to understand who was the photographer, what was the situation, who were the persons involved in these images. So it was more about the action. Let's say what the images were: one from Abu Ghraib, one from Vietnam, one from a woman, and one from the after the liberation of France, a group of French resistance who are holding a woman who had a relationship with a German, and so they will shave her because that was a public humiliation at the time.
Yeah, my question was going to the point, if you take a photograph from another culture, then sometimes it might be difficult to reenact an action which is foreign to you. But that's something I think we are going to talk about as well. Can you tell us something about the approach of the students? Because if you see a photograph and if you start to reenact a photograph, usually you would approach it with a lot of empathical feelings. If you approach it as an actor student, I wonder if there's also a mixture between empathy and, let's call it, an theatrical inner distance of the students. I don't know.
Yes. So about the let's say the research is when the students started to reenact with the photographer. Of course, they start to ask questions like, okay, why this happened? What was the person? So they did a personal, individual research to understand what was happening, why this image. Then once the picture was made, so the aesthetical experience was made, then with the students, let's say we went on the stage and we start to improvise. They start to improvise what might have said the person, the victim, what he or she might have thought, or what the torturer was thinking. So we start to improvise and, let's say, play around with what the image does not say, what we don't see in the image. And that was quite powerful because it really brought up a lot of layers and that we could not have imagined, because when we see the image, we think, oh, it's clear, we understand what's happening. And there is a kind of simplistic, but don't take this as a negative, pejorative term, but simple reading of the image. And then when we start to improvise and the students start to improvise and see what could have happened, what was the potential thought of the person in the image, the feelings, we start to realize that actually probably there are layers that we don't grasp and kind of open up the complexity. Also, it was very strong when we improvised on the image with the French liberation. The man who was playing the French liberator, how this hero that liberated France became very mean, like a new torturer, and the woman who kind of betrayed France and had a relationship with the German had suddenly a lot of emotion and empathy, and suddenly the vision was completely reversed.
So that's in fact something that also, let's say, affects collective memory, because all these images, apart from the question how far those images were constructed themselves as well, they form collective memory, and you start to operate with them and to modify them somehow. Do you think that your artistic process gets in direct contact with a collective memory so far?
So, as you say, that was really a key issue that we tried to touch, and at the same time kind of failed, because by working with these images, we realize that there is a complexity, and these images don't render justice, don't give justice to this complexity. They simplify the situation. And so the whole process was an attempt to find back this complexity of the situation, that violence, now it sounds like a banality, violence is a very complex action. There are a lot of things, and moreover, when it comes to image, there is an extra layer of pleasure that it makes even more complex. But we failed in the sense that when I presented this process in another context, I was invited to Aalto University to a master program, and there the students worked a lot also with images, and when I presented the image that we made with the students, which were part of a process, as I was describing, well, these master students, again, they just look at the images. They did not pay attention to the process and what we tried to do to, let's say, deconstruct or unveil. They again focused only on the image, and then they start to question the ethical aspect, like cultural appropriation, why we do that, and all the process was discarded.
Okay.
So only the image, the final, well, not even the final, because actually it was a moment in the process, became the end point where the critique was placed. So on that level, we failed, and it kind of simply confirmed what Susan Sontag was saying about images, that they just haunt us.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, and that's really interesting and an important aspect. When you told us about the students developing their ideas about the emotional and thoughts backgrounds of the people they reenacted, I would be really curious if you see this work also in a context of psychotherapy in the farthest, in the broadest sense, because I think that actions like these and reenactments like these easily also affect the actors somehow. So how was your how was the result? How did you deal with what happened? How did the students deal with what happened? And does it influence the work you have done since then?
Yeah, so the work had let's say, two pedagogical aspects. One, as I was saying, was this exploration of the violent image and try to deconstruct or unveil the complexity that is not present in the image. And then on the other side, for the students of a theater academy, was to explore if they are able, just by an exercise of imagination, are they able to place themselves in a situation that is very extreme, a situation that usually they don't face on a daily basis. And so there was also this, let's say, acting pedagogical dimension. But it is, and that created a lot of very strong response. And to the point that we needed, basically after each improvisation, to take a moment to discuss with the student. They could share, because it was almost, I would not say that it was a traumatic situation, but it was very strong. And for instance, the students who was in the position of this woman, who had a relationship with the German, she was saying that it was so strong what my partner was telling me that I felt ashamed. I felt ashamed to look at you, spectators. And so we were questioning, trying to consider, okay, the situation of a victim, that you feel the shame, and we try to discuss with them, okay, what's this emotion and how to deal with that if you find yourself in this. So I hope that it didn't create any trauma among the students. I think that we talked a lot and they had enough space and trust to share what has happened and to discuss together, because I think this is the most important element. Afterwards, the possibility to share this and to say, I felt ashamed. And of course, there was nothing wrong with her. It was not her fault. But it was so strong what the partner was doing, that she started to feel like this woman. So that was a very interesting process. And I think the students grew stronger afterwards from that.
And you, after that, also made another step of interpretation of the photograph by re-enacting it with a changing meaning, so to say. And I suppose that this also helps you to solve the tensions which were created by reenacting, right?
Exactly. Then they had the possibility, the students, to kind of, as you said, transform and unlash some tensions. That was an idea that came when I saw these pictures. Now I forgot the name of the photographer, but there was a photographer. He reenacted the images of Abu Ghraib, but done with children, as if it's a game that the children are playing. And of course, it creates a very disturbing element, because you realize what's the source, so the images, the torture in Abu Ghraib, but then you see the kids just playing, and this double level creates a clash. That it makes something very familiar, children playing, and then something very disturbing, this Abu Ghraib tortures, and the contrast, the juxtaposition of both, actually, at least for me, allowed to think, not just to be shocked by the image, but to think about these images. And so that was the idea that I proposed to the students: find a way that we could start to think about these images and not simply be shocked by them. So that was this process of transforming. And so there was a possibility, as you said, for the students to change what happened and re-empower them from these images.
Okay, fantastic. So, Davide, I think there's a lot of information already for the people viewing our video now. So I would say let's stop at that point. Thank you so much for being here digitally now, and hope to see you soon in the exhibition.
Yes, see you soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you
Bye
soon.
bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Ciao. Bye.
Wow. So this was a really amazing input by Davide Giovanzana, and he rose some more aspects also about empathy, about Photo theory, and this is really an important issue to deal with.
And also like the participants are going into this process of the reenactment and how it affect on them. Like I said before, that it's very important to find a way to change the perspective. I think this was really clear to understand how reenactment as an artistic strategy can work.
Exactly, and I think with this point of empathy and how to deal with foreign words, sentences, images, we go directly to the next dialogue partner.
Yes, it will be Julian Klein from the Institute of Künstlerische Forschung.
Institute for Artistic Research
Yes, and
at Berlin.
yeah, let's try the next Skype communication.
Please make the contact,
So,
and we will try it. And
oh, it seems like we have again a connection problem.
well, that simply fits into the exhibition, right, Denise? Yeah, so let's try it again, maybe.
Well, but this time maybe we can use another technique device to find a connection. Maybe we can try to have a call just with
Yeah,
a
well,
phone.
I just have to grab my telephone,
Yeah, just
and then
try
we can
this.
try. Just a moment.
Should I hold your phone?
That would be lovely.
So we have prepared it that we spoke with him to try it. If it not work, that we try it with a phone.
Okay.
Make it right now.
Yeah, I try. Julian? No. Unfortunately, we do not manage to get him here now. We will do an interview with him on the phone later and just include the sound file into this video as soon as possible. So if you want to hear Julian Klein from the Institute of Artistic Research in the context of our exhibition, just don't only view this video one time. There's enough input to see it again and to get some more information about Julian Klein.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, it's a pity that we don't have it here now live, but it's a nice thing even with this all these technical things that we can all the time add something and share it with another form to share the informations. So I think we are ready for tonight.
Yeah, you can see that disconnection really makes creative. Everyone, you struggle, and most times you win, sometimes you fail, but you can do it once more.
Yes, but we will do it once more, I hope, in 3 weeks.
Exactly.
And with, will you explain or give us a little hint what will be the topic next time?
Of course. The next chapter or category or whatever will be the question of transcultural translation, either of text or of imagery. And we have 2 artists in the show which mainly fall into this topic, and whose works are really interesting because they approach language from two different points of view. One is Thomas Baumhäkel from Dresden, and one is Ricardo Coelho Gilbert from Ecuador. And we hope that you are curious enough after this video just to see us and to visit us after 3 weeks from now. So thank you so much.
Yeah, please stay connected in
Exactly.
3 weeks again with us. So see you soon.
Good luck until then. Bye.
Bye. Ciao.